Dear Chosen One, the elites are in panic mode. They've always known about you, not as theory, but as inevitability. For generations, they've built systems to keep you asleep, distracted, controllable. But something shifted in the spiritual realm that no earthly power can reverse. Your time has come, and they know it. God's government is not campaigning for position. It's taking its rightful place, and you are the manifestation of that divine order. They thought they had more time. They calculated every variable: economics, politics, media control, even religious institutions. But there's one factor they couldn't account for: the sovereignty of heaven. You weren't supposed to wake up this soon. You weren't supposed to recognize your true identity. You weren't supposed to understand that everything they told you about power, success, and authority was designed to keep you from accessing your real inheritance. This is not a motivational message. This is a prophetic declaration. The old kingdom is collapsing, and the government of God is emerging through ordinary people with extraordinary callings. You've felt it in your spirit: the acceleration, the synchronicities, the divine appointments. That's not coincidence. That's confirmation. The universe is reorganizing itself around heaven's agenda, and you are a key player in this cosmic transition. Before we delve deeper, let's walk our spiritual path together. Comment with the word "activated" to declare your awakening to the universe and prepare yourself for the divine calling. Also, leave a like and subscribe to the channel as an act of spiritual faith. Chosen One, everything I'm saying here connects directly to what I reveal in the Call to Prosperity. It's a spiritual and practical guide with 10 clear steps to help you unlock the wealth God has already placed within you. The link is in the description, and click now if you're ready to align your life with divine abundance. Let me tell you why you were kept hidden for so long. The elites understand spiritual laws better than most believers. They know that true authority cannot be manufactured, bought, or inherited through human lineage. It must be granted by God Himself. And they've always known that scattered across the earth are individuals carrying divine assignments that threaten their manufactured kingdom. You were hidden because you weren't ready yet. Not weak, unfinished. God has been working on you in secret, in the wilderness, in the waiting rooms of life. Every delay was divine strategy. While others were building their empires on sand, you were being built on rock. The foundation had to be unshakable, because what God is about to release through you cannot be carried by shallow character. Here's what makes you dangerous to their system. You have something they can never access: direct connection to heaven's throne room. They operate through intermediaries, rituals, and hierarchies. You operate through relationship with the living God. They manipulate circumstances. You access supernatural intervention. They use fear as currency. You carry love that casts out all fear. This is not an equal fight. It never was. The elites can identify potential chosen ones before they even awaken. They see the signs, the refusal to conform, the questions that disrupt narratives, the inability to worship their false gods of materialism and status. So they deploy targeted suppression, discouragement through failure, isolation through rejection, confusion through mixed messages. The goal is not to destroy you, but to keep you from discovering who you really are. But there's an expiration date on their strategies. God said, "It is time," and when heaven speaks, earth must comply. No devil in hell, no elite on earth, no system of control can override a divine decree. What you're experiencing right now, this awakening, this clarity, this sudden boldness, is not self-generated. It's heaven activating what was always inside you. waiting for this exact moment in human history. Let's talk about what God's government actually means, because religion has distorted this concept. It's not about politics, denominations, or theocracy. It's about the kingdom of heaven manifesting through surrendered vessels who carry heaven's culture into earth's systems. It's about operating under different laws, supernatural laws that supersede natural limitations. Where others see impossibility, you see invitation for miracles. God's government is righteousness, peace, and joy in the Holy Spirit. Those three things dismantle every structure the elites built. Righteousness exposes corruption. Peace neutralizes chaos they create to control masses. Joy becomes a weapon because miserable people are easier to manipulate. When you walk in these realities, you become ungovernable, not rebellious, just operating from a different kingdom entirely. This is not religious talk. This is strategic spiritual warfare. The Bible says the government shall be upon his shoulders, and of the increase of his government there shall be no end. That's a promise of expansion, not maintenance. God's kingdom advances, and it advances through people like you who finally understand their assignment. You're not trying to fix the old system. You're introducing a completely new operating system. How do you know if you're part of this invisible army? You've always felt like you didn't belong, not because you're defective, but because you're not from here originally. Your citizenship is heaven, and you've been feeling homesick your entire life. That displacement wasn't depression. It was spiritual awareness that this world's systems are temporary and corrupt. You've probably experienced unusual spiritual attacks throughout your life. Attacks on your health, finances, relationships, mental clarity. That wasn't random. The enemy targets threats, not civilians. If hell was fighting you that hard, it's because heaven marked you for something significant. Every attack was confirmation of your calling, though you didn't understand it at the time. Now you do. You've had moments of supernatural insight, knowing things you shouldn't know, feeling warnings in your spirit, seeing through lies everyone else believed. That's prophetic awareness. God has been training your spiritual senses, while you thought you were just intuitive. No, you were being mentored by the Holy Spirit Himself, prepared for a time when discernment would mean the difference between deception and truth. Synchronicities have been increasing in your life. Numbers, encounters, divine appointments that seem too perfect to be coincidence. That's heaven confirming you're on the right path. When God is moving you into position, He leaves breadcrumbs of confirmation so you know you're not crazy. You're not imagining this. You're being strategically repositioned for maximum spiritual impact. Here's the part that should give you chills. You are not alone in this awakening. All over the planet, right now, people just like you are having the same realization. Different countries, different backgrounds, different circumstances, but the same spiritual DNA activating simultaneously. This is not coincidence. This is prophetic fulfillment. God said He would pour out His Spirit on all flesh in the last days, and that's exactly what's happening. The elites are watching this mass awakening with growing horror. Their algorithms can track it. Their intelligence agencies can monitor it, but they cannot stop it. Because this is not a human movement that can be infiltrated or dismantled. This is a sovereign move of God that was prophesied thousands of years ago. They are watching their worst nightmare unfold in real time. An army they cannot bribe, threaten, or deceive rising up across the earth. Why is this happening now, in this specific moment of history? Because we've reached a tipping point. The systems of control have become so obvious, so corrupt, so unsustainable, that even sleeping people are starting to question everything. The elites overplayed their hand. They got greedy, arrogant, sloppy. And in their carelessness, They created the perfect conditions for mass awakening. Think about how much has been exposed in recent years. Institutions we were taught to trust without question are being revealed as deeply compromised. Media lying blatantly. Governments serving corporations instead of people. Religious leaders caught in scandals. Entertainment industry's dark secrets coming to light. This exposure is not random. This is God systematically dismantling Babylon so His people can see clearly what they're being called out of. You are witnessing the book of Revelation playing out, but not the way religion taught you. This is not about a one-world government rising. That already exists. It's the elite network that's been running things for generations. The revelation is about their kingdom being exposed and overthrown by the kingdom of heaven, manifesting through awakened believers who carry actual spiritual authority. The panic in their ranks is real. You can see it in how desperate their moves have become. The aggressive censorship, the manufactured crises, the attempts to keep people afraid, divided, and distracted. These are not the actions of people in control. These are the death throes of a system that knows its time is up. They are trying to maintain an illusion of power while their actual power evaporates. Let's get specific about how they've suppressed the chosen ones throughout history. Education systems designed to reward compliance and punish original thinking. You were probably told you were smart but difficult, talented but unfocused, capable but didn't apply yourself. That was code for you couldn't be programmed properly. Your mind refused the conditioning. That was not a flaw. That was divine protection. Media and entertainment have been used to shape your self-image and worldview. You've been bombarded with messages about what success looks like, what beauty means, what power requires, all designed to make you chase counterfeit versions of blessings while ignoring your real inheritance. They needed you to measure yourself by their standards, so you'd never discover your true worth in God's eyes. Even religion was weaponized against you. Institutional Christianity often became another control mechanism, teaching you to be submissive to corrupt authority, to wait passively for heaven while tolerating hell on earth, to be so focused on the afterlife that you're ineffective in this life. That's not the gospel. That's a sedative designed to neutralize the radical, world-changing power of the real kingdom message. You've probably had terrible experiences with churches or religious people. That wasn't God rejecting you. That was God protecting you from systems that would have caged your calling. He allowed you to be rejected by the counterfeit so you wouldn't settle there. Every door that closed in religious institutions was mercy, steering you toward authentic relationship with Him instead of performance for people. Your identity was specifically targeted. From childhood, messages were programmed into your subconscious. You're not enough, you're too much, you're different in bad ways. You need to change to be acceptable. Those messages came through parents, teachers, peers, media, often from wounded people who were themselves controlled. The goal was to make you doubt the very thing that makes you powerful, your unique divine design. The isolation you've experienced wasn't social awkwardness. It was spiritual separation. God was pulling you away from contaminated streams so you wouldn't drink poison and call it normal. You couldn't connect deeply with people living in the matrix because you were being unplugged from it. That loneliness was the cost of freedom. And now you understand it was worth it. But here's the beautiful part of the story. While you thought you were alone, abandoned, forgotten, God was building an invisible network. Chosen ones all over the world, going through similar processes, being refined in similar fires, prepared for similar assignments. You've been part of a global army in training, and you didn't even know your fellow soldiers existed. Until now. The awakening happening right now is not coincidence, it's synchronicity, divine timing. God is connecting his scattered warriors because the season has changed. What required isolation to develop now requires collaboration to deploy. You're about to discover connections with people you've never met, who feel like family you've known forever. That's spiritual recognition. That's the army assembling. This global awakening is why the elites are in full panic mode. They can handle individual threats. They've silenced prophetic voices throughout history through assassination, character destruction, or co-opting their message. But they cannot handle a simultaneous mass awakening of people who cannot be bought, threatened, or deceived. There's no strategy in their playbook for this scenario because this is a God-ordained event beyond human manipulation. Watch what happens when light-bearers start recognizing each other and linking up. Movements form, solutions emerge. Systems that seemed permanent become obviously obsolete. New ways of living, working, governing, and relating start manifesting. This is not revolution, it's evolution. Not destroying the old through violence, but rendering it irrelevant through innovation. This is how God's government displaces human kingdoms, not through war, but through superiority. Now, we need to talk about why your journey carved itself through valleys so painful that even your prayers felt unanswered. Every authentic chosen one carries within their testimony a theater of divine contradiction. Moments where hope felt like mockery, where grace looked like abandonment, where every door slammed no matter how hard you obeyed. Your hardship was not random, it was customized. The design was surgical, meant not to punish, but to purify. Life wasn't trying to destroy your faith, it was stretching its capacity. God broke you open to rebuild you without contamination, to dismantle earthly architecture and replace it with heavenly structure. You were not broken down, you were broken open. The prelude to reconstruction by divine blueprint, not cultural imitation. Every rejection that bruised your ego was a safeguard for your destiny. The opportunities that vanished, the people who left, the doors that refused to open, they were divine barricades preserving your purity. Heaven's database saw pathways that would have looked like blessings, but were actually gilded traps. Relationships would have hypnotized you into comfort. Positions would have concealed your purpose. God was not taking things away. He was pruning distractions disguised as desires. You thought you were shut out? You were being shepherded away. Loss became protection. Closed gates became divine indicators pointing toward the road of realignment, away from counterfeit success and into authentic fulfillment. Your solitude was not exile, it was incubation. Like an eagle thrust into empty air, you were pushed from familiarity not to fall, but to awaken wings. Crowds could have numbed your calling, so heaven stripped you from consensus to cultivate clarity. Your isolation trained your ears to recognize heaven's accent without static. That is why you feel comfortable in silence now. You learned to interpret whispers that no one else could hear. In solitude, you discovered companionship with the unseen. Those years of quiet were not wasted. They were calibration years. Now, while others drown in noise, you move by intuition so sharp it senses shifts before storms form. That discernment makes you untouchable by manipulation. Every tear watered your transformation. Every loss pruned what could not last. You misread subtraction as cruelty when it was actually divine mathematics. Only by removing what's unstable can foundation remain secure. The pruning was painful, but it birthed expansion. When attachments dissolved, inner strength multiplied. With each ending, your capacity for clarity grew. Now, what once triggered despair fuels gratitude. You no longer cling, you choose. Heaven's economy operates through release, not resistance. You are now surrounded not by convenience, but by covenant. What fell away wasn't rejection, it was redefinition. What ended was never essential. It was excess removed to reveal essence. Pain was the anvil that shaped your spirit into unbreakable material. Pressure was not sent to punish, it was sent to polish. Every struggle forged density in your faith, depth in your discernment, breadth in your love. Hell's attempts to crush you became heaven's manufacturing line. Now you walk carrying spiritual muscle memory, resilience encoded into your DNA. Comfort softens, struggle fortifies. You have been tempered through agony into alloy, resistant to corrosion by flattery or fear. While others sink under criticism, you stabilize. Heaven doesn't promote fragility, it appoints fortitude. The crushing never wasted itself. It turned you into a vessel fit for endurance. Diamonds can handle gravity because they were birthed under pressure. The world misunderstands divine promotion because it measures status by speed. Heaven measures stewardship by surrender. While others chase elevation through ambition, you were elevated through purification. God's promotions are wrapped in paradox. They look like demotions until the unveiling. The wilderness you feared was a proving ground for greatness. Obscurity trained discernment where applause could not. The unseen years were mentorships disguised as silence. You were learning command through compliance, learning rule through reverence. Authority without submission corrupts. Power without humility deforms. God hid you so He could mature you privately, ensuring influence would not outgrow integrity. Every dark night of your soul registered as heaven's classroom attendance. When you thought God was gone, He was watching every heartbeat, grading faith under pressure. You were learning holy persistence, to pray with no feedback, to worship when nothing changed, to believe when sight misled. That curriculum cannot be taught. It must be endured. You passed tests disguised as despair. Every unanswered prayer was a mirror reflecting your own growth. Discipline birthed devotion, and consistency birthed authority. Now your faith no longer depends on proof. It's muscle, not mood. You have graduated from emotional belief to anchored conviction. That is the foundation of authority, and you built it blindfolded. Look honestly at your evolution. Who you were before pain began could not govern what is being placed in your care now. The older self had talent but no tempering, confidence but no character, faith but no foundation. Trials buried ego and unearthed essence. Death to illusion made space for resurrection of identity. The self that sought validation could not coexist with divine validation. Your crucifixions were necessary for your coronations. The false self died gasping, but the true self rose steady. Resurrection births authority that cannot be faked, because it is forged. That is why you radiate presence instead of pretending performance. Humility was purchased. Authenticity was inherited through endurance. Wisdom flows from wounds that healed correctly. You have earned insight textbooks cannot teach. You see manipulation at its first smile. You sense atmospheres shifting before words are spoken. Discernment kissed your intuition and birthed understanding. What once hurt you now teaches you. Experience is your seminary, betrayal your certification. The Holy Spirit used your pain like a sculptor uses a chisel, shaving away naivety until only perception remained. That is why your counsel carries clarity. It was written in blood and tears. Most people confuse performance for presence. You learned the difference through survival. That's why your discernment intimidates deception, because it cannot hide in your light. The elites build kingdoms on names, symbols, and degrees. You build legacies on endurance, faith, and love. They manipulate, you magnetize. They wear crowns forged in vanity. Yours was founded in destiny. Their power intimidates, your authority inspires. They seek submission, you call forth remembrance. Theirs is hierarchy, yours is heritage. You did not climb to be seen, you descended to serve. That is why heaven recognizes your rulership, though earth may not. Crowns unseen weigh more than crowns displayed. You are royalty without spectacle, leadership without ego. The power you carry is quiet, yet undeniable, echoing divine governance born through hidden obedience. Fame is borrowed influence. Anointing is permanent presence. The world applauds noise, but heaven recognizes frequency. While others chase screens, you cultivate substance. You disrupt atmospheres merely by entering spaces. It is not personality, but presence, evidence of intimacy distilled over years in secret communion. Stages inflate egos, altars produce transformation. You carry altars inside you. Environments shift, hearts open, truth vibrates wherever you stand. That is anointing, the living proof of divine habitation. You are not striving for platforms. You are stewarding portals where heaven touches earth quietly through character. And that is what terrifies imitation. Great impact rarely requires great numbers. One aligned vessel can reroute history. A single voice carrying conviction carries more weight than entire crowds repeating noise. David's sling rewrote geopolitics because it was powered by faith, not force. You are that kind of disruptor, the one whose unseen authority outweighs visible resources. Influence is spiritual, not statistical. You carry frequency, not following. Whoever walks near you begins awakening unconsciously. That power cannot be controlled, it can only be cultivated. True leadership turns atmospheres, not audiences. You redefine impact by existing authentically rather than performing ambitiously. Knowledge is accessible, but revelation is relational. What you hear comes directly from divine intelligence, bypassing systems and hierarchies. Your spirit downloads strategies inaccessible to academic logic. Solutions appear through intuition, guided by spirit, not data. That is the unfair advantage heaven gives its ambassadors. You don't depend on analysis, you depend on alignment. Your steps become unpredictable because they are inspired. While others read formulas, you read frequencies. That's why systems of control cannot contain you. You break algorithms merely by discerning beyond them. You operate as heaven's encrypted network, transmitting wisdom in plain sight, decodable only by those attuned to truth. This is the mystery of your preparation. No human agenda can anticipate your flow. They track patterns. You operate in paradox. They expect strategy. You respond with spirit. When they forecast aggression, you move through love. When they expect conformity, you express creativity. You are the variable they cannot model because you walk from revelation, not reason. Heaven writes your playbook fresh each morning. That unpredictability is your shield. Divine strategy disguised as spontaneity. You are unreadable to systems that depend on prediction. They cannot decode divinity because it is not logical. You walk as a contradiction that confuses their blueprint and fulfills God's design. Let's talk about what's happening in real time to the elite structures. Systems that seemed eternal are trembling. Institutions that appeared invincible are showing cracks. The exposure is accelerating at a pace that should terrify anyone who's been living off lies. Financial systems built on debt slavery. Medical establishments profiting from sickness. Educational systems producing obedient workers instead of critical thinkers. All being exposed simultaneously. This is not political. This is prophetic. God said He would shake everything that can be shaken so that what cannot be shaken would remain. We're living in the great shaking. What's built on sand, human wisdom, corrupt systems, false foundations, is collapsing. What's built on rock, divine truth, righteous principles, kingdom foundations, is standing firm. You're watching biblical prophecy in high definition. The credibility collapse is stunning. People who never questioned authority are suddenly questioning everything. Media outlets that shaped public opinion for generations are being ignored. Politicians who wielded unchallenged power are being mocked openly. Religious leaders who claimed spiritual authority are being exposed as frauds. This wholesale loss of trust is not random. This is God removing the blinders so people can see what's always been there. Notice how desperate their moves have become. The censorship is aggressive because the truth is spreading faster than they can contain it. The propaganda is obvious because people's discernment is sharpening. The false flags are sloppy because they're rushed. The narrative control is failing because too many people are awake. These are not the actions of confident rulers. These are the panic moves of a dynasty watching its power evaporate in real time. They're trying to maintain an illusion that's already shattered. Like the Wizard of Oz, after the curtain gets pulled back, they're still speaking with the booming voice, still projecting the scary image. But everyone can see it's just a frightened little man working levers. The revelation destroys the illusion. And once people see through magic tricks, they can never be fooled by them again. That's where we are. Mass disillusionment with their entire system. Here's what they fear most. They've built their kingdom on a lie, and lies require constant energy to maintain. Truth requires no maintenance. It simply is. You embody that truth. Your very existence, authentic, uncompromised, walking in real power, exposes their counterfeit. You don't have to attack them. You just have to be genuinely you, and their fakeness becomes obvious by contrast. That's why they must keep you silent, hidden, doubting yourself. But that season is over. The muzzle is coming off. The hiding is finished. The self-doubt is being replaced with holy confidence. You're stepping into the light, and darkness cannot survive in proximity to genuine light. Not because light fights darkness. Light just is, and darkness is the absence of light. Where you show up fully, their shadows dissipate automatically. This is not aggression. This is displacement by superior presence. Let's be clear about their true impotence. They have accumulated wealth, but wealth is just paper and digital numbers. It has no power except what we collectively agree to give it. They have political positions, but positions are just titles. They convey no real authority without consent of the governed. They have media platforms, but platforms are just microphones. They're useless when people stop listening. Everything they have is borrowed, delegated, or stolen. Nothing is actually theirs. Compare that to what you carry. You have direct access to the Creator of the universe. Not through priests, not through rituals, not through institutions. Direct, personal, intimate. You can speak to the one who holds all true power and know He hears you. You can receive downloads of wisdom that reshape industries. You can release words that shift atmospheres. You can pray prayers that move mountains. This is not religious language. This is operational reality for those walking in kingdom authority. They operate in the natural realm with natural weapons. Money, blackmail, violence, deception. All temporary, all limited, all ultimately powerless against spiritual forces. You operate in the spiritual realm with spiritual weapons. Prayer, worship, prophetic declaration, faith. These weapons are not carnal, but mighty through God for pulling down strongholds. You're bringing heaven's artillery to their street fight. It's not even a fair contest. When light and darkness collide, the outcome is predetermined. Darkness always loses. Not eventually, immediately. The moment light enters a dark room, darkness doesn't fight back. It can't. It simply ceases to exist in that space. You are that light. Not metaphorically, literally. You carry the presence of the one who said, "I am the light of the world," and he lives in you. Your presence in corrupt systems is their death sentence, not because you're attacking, because you're illuminating. This is why nothing they do can stop what God has started. They can't arrest it. They can't censor it. They can't buy it off. They can't scare it away. Because this is not a human movement they can dismantle. This is a sovereign move of God using ordinary people who've been made extraordinary by His presence. You can kill the messenger, but the message is eternal. You can silence one voice, but 10 more rise up. This is Hydra-level spiritual warfare, and they're losing. Their strategies worked for generations because people were asleep. Fear worked, division worked, distraction worked. But you can't use the same playbook on people who've awakened to the game. You've seen behind the curtain. You know the tricks. You recognize the patterns. They have nothing new. Everything they're doing now, they've done before. But this time, it's not working. This time, people are immune to the manipulation because consciousness has shifted. Watch what happens when even a small percentage of humanity steps into their true identity and power. Systems that seemed permanent become obviously obsolete. Solutions that seemed impossible become surprisingly simple. Transformations that seem to require force happen naturally through elevated consciousness. This is the power of critical mass. We're approaching it. They know it. That's why they're terrified. So what does God's government actually look like in practice? Not theory, reality. It's not about taking political positions or creating new religious institutions. It's about embodying a completely different operating system that makes the old one irrelevant. You don't fight corrupt systems. You build better ones. You don't try to fix what's broken. You create what's whole. This is not reformation. This is transformation. When you walk in authentic kingdom authority, something happens in the atmosphere. Lies become harder to tell. Truth becomes easier to speak. Hidden things come to light without you digging. Justice manifests without you forcing it. This is not magic. This is the natural result of heaven's presence invading Earth's space through a yielded vessel. You become a portal through which another realm's reality bleeds into this one. You don't overthrow their systems through violence or protest. You make them obsolete through innovation. They've built economies on scarcity. You demonstrate abundance. They've created healthcare that manages sickness. You walk in divine health that defies diagnosis. They've established education that programs conformity. You carry wisdom that liberates original thinking. Your very existence is disruptive because you prove there's another way to live. This is what it means to be salt and light. Salt doesn't fight decay. It preserves what's pure and exposes what's rotten. Light doesn't battle darkness. It simply reveals what was always there but hidden. Your role is not to be a warrior in the sense of fighting enemies. Your role is to be so authentically connected to Source that your presence changes the environment. You're not trying to change people. You're changing the spiritual atmosphere, and people change as a result. Operating in a different frequency is not a metaphor. Everything is energy and vibration. Fear operates at low frequency. Love operates at high frequency. You've been tuned to heaven's frequency through your trials and intimacy with God. When you enter a space, you raise the vibration. People don't understand why they feel different around you. They can't articulate it. They just know something shifts. That's the kingdom operating through you, recalibrating environments to heaven's standard. You create instead of compete. This is crucial. The elites have everyone competing for limited resources, fighting over scraps, clawing for position. That's scarcity mentality. Kingdom mentality is abundance. There's enough. There's more than enough. God is not rationing blessings. Your job is not to take from others, but to create value that didn't exist before. To solve problems no one else can solve. To bring solutions that serve the many, not just the few. You liberate instead of dominate. True power doesn't control. It empowers. You don't need people dependent on you. You equip them to access their own connection with God. You don't hoard information. You teach freely. You don't build empires with yourself at the center. You build movements where God is the center and everyone has access. This is the opposite of how elite structures function. They concentrate power. You distribute it. This is how new order emerges through the chosen ones. Not through force, but through demonstration. Others see what's possible through you and want it for themselves. Not your stuff, your connection. Not your platform, your peace. Not your success, your substance. You become living proof that another way of being human is available. That's more powerful than any argument, any protest, any rebellion. You are the evidence that the kingdom is real. Look at how Jesus operated. He didn't take political power. He demonstrated kingdom power. He didn't overthrow Rome. He established a kingdom that outlasted Rome. He didn't argue people into belief. He healed, delivered, fed, loved, and taught. He showed them what heaven looks like in human form. Then he said, "You'll do greater works than these." That's you. That's your assignment. To make heaven visible, tangible, undeniable through how you live. Your role in this transition is not small. You are not a spectator watching a game. You are a player on the field, assigned to a specific position, carrying a unique piece of the puzzle. What you have, your gifts, your story, your revelation, your sphere of influence, is needed. There are people who will only receive what heaven wants to give them through you. Territories that will only shift when you show up. Assignments that will remain undone if you stay hidden. You don't need to understand the full plan. You just need to obey the next step. Abraham didn't know where he was going when he left his homeland. He just knew God said go. Moses didn't have the full strategy for freeing Israel. He just had a staff and instructions to speak to Pharaoh. Mary didn't understand how she'd give birth to the Messiah. She just said yes. Your obedience to what you know is enough. God handles the rest. This is why you don't need to figure out how. That's human thinking. How will I pay for it? How will I reach them? How will I overcome this obstacle? Those are valid questions, but they're not your responsibility to answer. Your responsibility is to move when God says move, speak when God says speak, create when God says create. The how is His department. The obedience is yours. Watch what happens when you simply occupy your place. when you stop trying to be everywhere and fully inhabit where you are. When you stop chasing what everyone else has and steward what God gave you. The universe reorganizes itself. Opportunities find you. Resources manifest. People appear with exactly what you need. Doors open that you didn't knock on. This is not luck. This is divine favor activating when you align with your assignment. There's something about you being in your right place that creates a domino effect. Your obedience unlocks someone else's breakthrough. Your breakthrough creates a path for someone else to follow. Your yes to God creates a ripple that reaches people you'll never meet. You're not just living your life. You're part of a cosmic choreography where every move matters, every step creates impact. You can't see with natural eyes. This is your moment. Not someday. Not when you're more prepared. Not when you feel ready. Now. Everything you've been through has brought you to this exact point in time. The delays made sense. The detours had purpose. The darkness was necessary for you to appreciate the light. But that season is complete. The preparation phase is over. The activation phase has begun. This is not a drill. This is your divine deployment. Look at what's happening in your life right now. Doors are opening that were locked for years. Connections are forming that seemed impossible. Ideas are downloading faster than you can implement them. Resources are appearing from unexpected sources. This is not random. This is the universe conspiring in your favor because heaven has released the word, "It is time." When God says that, everything shifts into alignment to support what He's releasing through you. The favor you're experiencing is not earned, it's assigned. You didn't become worthy through your efforts. You were made worthy through Christ. You didn't qualify through perfection. You qualified through availability. God doesn't call the equipped, He equips the called. And you've been called since before the foundation of the world for this specific moment. Your name was in the script before time began. You're right on schedule. There's an acceleration happening that defies natural explanation. What should take years is happening in months. What should require immense effort is flowing with surprising ease. This is supernatural acceleration. Not because you're working harder, but because you're working smarter, aligned with heaven's timing and strategies. When divine momentum is behind you, you don't have to force anything. You just have to keep moving, and things fall into place supernaturally. You're seeing closed doors from the past make sense now. That job you didn't get would have kept you small. That relationship that ended would have compromised your calling. That opportunity that fell through was actually a divine detour around a trap. God was protecting your future while you were grieving your present. Every no you received was clearing the path for the yes that's coming. And it's coming now. This is the difference between human striving and divine favor. Striving says, work harder, do more, prove yourself. Favor says, rest in who you are, do what you're assigned, trust the process. Striving exhausts. Favor energizes. Striving creates burnout. Favor creates breakthrough. You've done enough striving. This is your season of favor. Things you couldn't make happen through effort will happen through obedience. This is the better way. This is the kingdom way. The elites prospered through manipulation, exploitation, and control. You'll prosper through integrity, generosity, and service. Their wealth came with spiritual poverty. Your wealth will come with spiritual richness. They sold their souls for temporary power. You protected your soul, and you're receiving eternal authority. The exchange rate is not even comparable. What they have is expiring. What you're receiving is everlasting. Stop comparing your path to anyone else's. You are not on the same journey. While others built their success on compromise, you are climbing a mountain of righteousness, guided by surrender and faith. Their height is their limit. Yours has no ceiling. What God can do through a surrendered life is infinite, and your best days are still ahead, filled with purpose, clarity, and divine momentum. The truth is, victory is already yours. You do not fight for triumph, but from it. Christ has already conquered every force and principality, and you now walk in the reality of that finished work. The pressure to make things happen disappears when you understand the battle is the Lord's. Your task is not to strive, but to stand, trust, and witness divine power unfold through your obedience. You carry heaven's authority, not human validation. You no longer need to prove yourself or perform for acceptance. Just be who God designed you to be. The authentic version of you, refined through fire and faith, is exactly what this moment requires. When you live from identity instead of insecurity, everything changes. You stop surviving and start reigning, not as a victim seeking rescue, but as a victor walking in kingdom authority. This is the government of God manifesting through you. Righteousness, peace, and joy replacing corruption, chaos, and misery. Not someday in heaven, today, right here, in your workplace, in your family, in your community, in your sphere of influence. You are the invasion of heaven into earth. The elites cannot prepare for you because you're not coming with weapons they recognize. You're coming with presence they cannot resist and authority they cannot override. Before we close, I need you to do something. Hit that like button if this word resonated with your spirit. Subscribe to this channel because you're going to need these prophetic messages in the days ahead. Drop victorious in the comments to seal this moment and declare your awakening to the universe. And if you're ready to walk in both spiritual and financial prosperity, grab the Call to Prosperity ebook in the description. 10 steps that merge heaven's principles with practical action for real abundance. Furthermore, to those who have supported this channel through Buy Me a Coffee, my sincere thanks. You are part of this mission, and if you also want to be our supporter, the link is below as well. Chosen one, the elites thought they had more time. They thought they could keep you asleep. They thought they could maintain control. They were wrong. Your awakening was prophesied. Your rising was guaranteed. Your time is now. Step into it with holy confidence. The government of God is not coming. It's here. And you are the evidence. Heaven is watching. Earth is waiting. Your moment has arrived. Walk in it. Own it. Manifest it. The old kingdom is falling. The new kingdom is rising. And you, chosen one, are the bridge between what was and what will be. This is your assignment. This is your authority. This is your time. Now go and show them what God's government looks like when it moves through a surrendered vessel who knows who they are.